Alright, continuing on from the last part, as I said, you take things, put them on things, and there really aren't any puzzles in the old Resident Evil games, except for one, and I'll get into that later. Because that puzzle can suck it. As you continue through the mansion, you eventually go to a residential area nearby. I don't know if the scientists live there, or who lives there exactly, because it's never really explained. Oh, I'm guessing the scientist digs there is an underground laboratory. Actually, that's another question I had. Do the scientists live at that mansion? Because there's only like 3 beds and 1 bathroom. And yet there's like 50 fucking zombies. Oh god, that's gotta be hell in the morning. Could you imagine being the last guy in line for a shower? Cold as hell. There won't be any hot water left. I mean, I think what they did is like they came in from Raccoon City on helicopters. Because I can't imagine a lot of people just working there and living there at the same time. I just can't really imagine that. I'm thinking way too hard about this right now, actually. Moving right along, going into the residential area, you come across giant fucking sharks. Now, how the Umbrella Corporation was able to buy sharks without raising anyone's suspicion is beyond me. I mean, yeah, sure, they got a black market and all that, but sharks? How the fuck do you purchase 3 sharks and no one raises an eyebrow? Especially when you're a pharmaceutical agency. Whatever. You drain the water, and you could choose to kill them. I mean, there's no point. It's pretty much like a waste of ammunition if you do that. I don't think they can hurt you when they're... I think I just do it because it makes me feel safe. I don't know if it actually helps or not. And eventually, you do have to go back to the mansion. And I should also mention this. For your first time playing through one of these games, there will be an insane amount of backtracking. Like, you'll be just sick seeing the same area over and over and over again. And most of the time isn't because you're lost. It's because you have to keep going back to an item box. The item box can hold a certain number of items, but I've never once filled it up. I don't even think you can. I think it's a physical impossibility to fill up that item box. I haven't even come like halfway. Excuse me. I haven't even come halfway close to ever filling up an item box. There are other item boxes throughout the entire game, and they're all connected magically, of course. So it's not like if you put handgun ammunition into the medicine room, you would have to run back from the residential house to the medicine room in the mansion in order to get that item. The handgun ammunition. Which is unbelievably annoying. I mean, like, the item system in general, having to run back and fucking forth. I mean, at least with Silent Hill, I can carry multiple items. Are you telling me my pockets are not fucking big enough to hold more than 1 fucking key? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to call bullshit on that. Actually, that's another question I have. How the fuck do they know if they don't need the key anymore? Do they just guess and pray to God that they're right? Because it's just like, oh, you don't need this key anymore. You want to discard it? I don't need the key anymore? How the hell would I know that? I've never been in this fucking house before. Okay, fine, I'll get rid of it. And also, what is up with the small keys, too? Actually, this goes for keys in pretty much every game I have ever played. Why is it that I cannot use this key more than fucking once? I put it in a lock, turn it, door unlocks, key breaks, or just disappears. Why does that happen? I mean, okay, granted, Resident Evil isn't realistic, but I was kind of hoping for something that would make sense. Once again, sidetracked. Okay. As you continue on through the game, you'll find an underground laboratory underneath the mansion in a fountain. I'm not quite sure if that's the original game. I know in the remake that's how it is, because I played the remake far more times than the original. But I can't say for certain. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You find a secret laboratory, you go in there, you discover that Wesker's the traitor of stars, which isn't the least bit shocking. Okay, when you figure out that there's a traitor in stars, it's a member of Stars Bravo team, the leader, Enrico, who tells you that there's a traitor amongst stars, it doesn't matter who you're playing as, he says it one way or another. And here's the thing, there's like no suspense in this. You know it's Wesker. Because think about it, if you're playing as Chris, the only other people you ever meet that are alive, or at least you believe are alive, are Jill, Rebecca, and Wesker. Jill can't be the suspect because she's a playable character, so that just takes her out entirely. Rebecca can't be it because, for fuck's sake, look at her. It's amazing she got through the first mansion. I'll bring this up again later because it actually kind of pisses me off a little bit. And the only other suspect would be Wesker, the guy who you haven't seen for like the past couple hours of gameplay. And with Jill, it's Barry and Chris. So Barry, who is helping you a ton, he gave Jill the lockpick. He saved her from the room with the ceiling that would crush her. Jill sandwich. And a bunch of other stuff too. So he can't be the traitor, or he would have just shot Jill in the face the second she turned around. So once again, that just leaves Wesker. Why bother trying to? You might as well just have Enrique say Wesker's the traitor of stars, and then he gets shot and Wesker runs away. There's no point in hiding it. We all know it. It just seems really pointless not to. Man, my throat's dry. Anyways, you continue on through the laboratory, go through a bunch of shit, figure out Wesker's the bad guy, as I already said, who seems oddly fascinated with the Tyrant, because he's like, isn't it beautiful? And then the thing impales him. I know he programmed it to do that in order to give out like the death experience to make the virus in him work. But you couldn't just shoot yourself in the head. You had to just activate the fucking Tyrant to have it impale you, which I'm willing to bet is far more painful than just shooting yourself in the head. Given the option between killing myself with a gunshot to the head or getting impaled on a giant monster's claw, I think I'd much rather take the gunshot. Just saying. Anyways, you take down the Tyrant, that's what it's called, the monster, leave, and then, depending on who you're playing as, if you're playing as Chris, Rebecca will suggest this. If you're playing as Jill, Jill will do it. They say, we should blow this place up. Why? You do realize you still need evidence. Granted, you've got like all this paperwork, and I'm not quite sure how well that really does it, because for fuck's sake, you could have made it yourself. There's no proof that you didn't. So when you think about that, paper is more like circumstantial evidence, I suppose. Or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just not understanding the police procedure right now. Whatever. I'll talk about this later. So you activate the self-destruct sequence. You get the survivors out of there. You know, if you're playing as Jill, you get Chris and Barry following you. If you're playing as Chris, you have Rebecca and Jill following you. And you have to fight the Tyrant one more time, who apparently survived and knew where you were. I don't know how. He busts through the fucking roof. Once again, I don't know how he manages to do that. And for some reason, Brad carries a rocket launcher on the helicopter. And he says probably the strangest line in the entire game if you're playing as Jill. He'll chuck... Okay, not only does he chuck the fucking rocket launcher down at you, which sounds like a really stupid fucking idea. What if it misfired? I'm sorry, I spat a little. What if when the rocket launcher hit, it just fired and killed me? Fucking dick. So he throws it down. If you're playing as Jill, he'll say, use this, you're an Amazon, Jill. And I don't know what that means. I know what an Amazon is, but what the fuck does a rocket launcher have to do with it? It honestly feels like I'm missing something. Anyways, you pick up the rocket launcher, you shoot the guy, and it's really weird how they decide to do this, because you see this for this game and the next. When you shoot a rocket at a tyrant, when you're about to kill it for the once and for all, it'll like show this is like the tyrant, and it'll show the rocket launcher coming at it. But then it'll just keep switching to like different angles constantly, and I don't know why. Before it hits it, and not only blows it up, but blows it up like it's a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. Because there's just like pieces left. Like you see it, like there's a head, there's an arm, there's a leg. You get on the helicopter, and there's no dialogue. It's just they leave. You and the survivors just leave. And once again, it's unknown as to which is the canon scenario, Chris or Jill, because there is no explanation for any of it. I say make your life easier and just say how Umbrella Chronicles did it. That's canon. It'll make life that much easier. Although personally, I'd still like to say Chris, mainly because he's more difficult. But then there's Jill, who has Barry. And Barry actually comes back. I mean, Rebecca could be dead, and that wouldn't affect anything. I mean, she isn't, because they say so in History of Resident Evil and Resident Evil 5. And that's kind of it for the first Resident Evil game. I'm going to quickly check the time. Okay, I had like 3 minutes. Resident Evil did pretty well. I mean, it did get its own sequel. And since the game did well, it spawned off many other things. It got a comic book series, it got a trading card series, live-action movies, 2 CGI movies right now, Resident Evil Degeneration and Resident Evil Damnation, which is the new one. And yeah, I'd have to say it's doing really well for itself, which is amazing when you just look at the game. Because when you really think about it, the first Resident Evil game isn't good. But it is. It's bad, but it's good. You know those really bad movies you see all the time that you know deep down it's really not that good, but you love it anyways, but you're not the only one? I wouldn't say like it's a cult phenomenon kind of thing, Resident Evil, but it is definitely something that really isn't as good as some people make it out to be when you really think about it. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but even I'm willing to admit it's not that great. That is all I've got, and there's not much time left. Before I get into Resident Evil 2, I just kind of want to go off on a little bit of a tangent. It won't be very long, and it won't take up an entire part, at least I don't think it will. Just kind of bear with me on this, alright? That's it for the second part of the Resident Evil history lesson. I'll see you guys next time.